Go Jump in the Pool. A Bruno and Boots story by Gordon Korman. Chapter 4. Just one of those things. "Scrimmages is crawling with cops," Boots exclaimed from his vantage point halfway out the window. "I told you I heard sirens." Bruno made no reply, but a familiar fiendish grin spread across his face. "Let's go!" he cried, throwing on his bathrobe. He tore out of the door and into the corridor with Boots right behind him. As they ran, they banged on every door. "Red alert! Scrimmages is being raided!" Before long, all of Dormitory 3 was milling around in confusion on the dark campus. "What's going on? Miss Scrimmage got busted. The girls are in danger. Bunny rabbit slippers, Fred. Who woke me up? I never did trust Miss Scrimmage. She has small eyes." The growing din woke up the other two dormitories, and in a matter of minutes the entire population of McDonald Hall was howling and surging across the road and onto the grounds of Miss Scrimmage's finishing school for young ladies. Girls in pink nighties fluttered out to meet them. Kathy Burton's voice boomed over the school's public address system. "Our beloved teacher is falsely accused! Save Miss Scrimmage!" At the very instant that Bruno and Boots arrived on the scene, Miss Scrimmage was being escorted out of the front door by two extremely large police officers. The crowd went wild, blocking their passage. Diane Grant ran up to Bruno and spun him around. "Bruno, you've got to do something!" "All right, I'll bake her a cake with a file in it." "Bruno, this isn't funny!" Diane exclaimed, quite upset. "It's all your fault anyway!" "My fault?" Bruno repeated. "His fault?" Boots echoed. Kathy's high-pitched voice came over the speaker again. "Don't forget Miss Scrimmage! You have the right to remain silent!" A desperate-looking policeman shouted to his partner. "Barney, where the heck did these kids come from?" "I don't know," Barney called back. "But stay away from the girls. They kick. Ouch, they scratch, too." "Do something!" Diane screeched. "Kathy! Kathy!" Kathy Burton burst out onto Miss Scrimmage's balcony and screamed, "All right, girls! Lie down in front of the cars!" Amid cheers from the students of both schools, the girls flopped down on the ground all around the police cars. "We demand to hear the charges!" Kathy screamed again. One of the officers held up both hands for order and replied in a loud voice that could be heard by all, "The charge is armed robbery!" Silence fell like a stone. Even Bruno Walton was unable to react with anything but mute astonishment. A full 60 seconds went by, and then the crowd began to murmur. "Armed robbery? Miss Scrimmage? I knew it! Small eyes will tell." "I wonder where she stashed the loot. She'll get 20 years for this. Maybe she's innocent. People with small eyes are never innocent." Suddenly, a quiet voice penetrated the din. "I will have order." Again, the crowd fell silent. Even the policeman came to attention. Mr. Sturgeon, in his red silk bathrobe and bedroom slippers, had arrived on the scene. "Oh, Mr. Sturgeon, thank heaven you're here!" shrilled Miss Scrimmage, her hair curlers bobbing in agitation. "Tell them, please tell them that I didn't do it!" "I'm sure you didn't, Miss Scrimmage," said the headmaster of McDonald Hall. "What is it you are supposed to have done?" "Armed robbery, sir!" Bruno announced loudly. Mr. Sturgeon froze him with his famous steely gray stare and turned to the police officer who seemed to be in charge. "Armed robbery of what, and when?" "Couple of hours ago, a woman answering to her description robbed Joe's hardware store on Highway 14, was the reply. "She left this behind." He reached into one of his patrol cars and pulled out a 12-gauge shotgun. "It has the name and address of this place engraved on the stock." Miss Scrimmage screamed and collapsed into the arms of the two soldiers who flanked her. The girls began screaming, too. Bruno and Boots exchanged a quick look of understanding and moved backwards into the thick of the crowd. In a few seconds they returned, herding the burly form of Wilbur Hackenschleimer ahead of them. "We sold the shotgun this afternoon, sir," Bruno confessed. "Wilbur can describe the lady who bought it." "She was tall and skinny and old, just like Miss Scrimmage," Wilbur blurted out, then immediately clapped his immense hands over his mouth. "I know what you mean, Hackenschleimer," said Mr. Sturgeon. He turned to the police officers. "Gentlemen," he explained, "through some error, Miss Scrimmage's shotgun was sold at a rummage sale this afternoon. In addition, I can attest to Miss Scrimmage's whereabouts this evening as I was talking to her on the telephone. Several times. Her staff and students will assure you that she did not leave the residence. This has been a ghastly mistake." "Ghastly! Ghastly!" moaned Miss Scrimmage, who was just reviving, to the great relief of the two policemen who were holding her up. "Well then," said one of the officers, "you seem to have an alibi, ma'am." "An alibi, indeed!" cried the outraged Miss Scrimmage. "Young man, you should be ashamed of yourself, bursting in here and victimizing a defenseless woman and terrifying these innocent girls." Lady, said one of the younger officers, Godzilla couldn't terrify these girls. Our apologies, ma'am, continued the policeman in charge. It was unfortunate, but unavoidable in view of the evidence. He smiled placatingly. You must be very proud of the loyalty shown by your young ladies. Miss Scrimmage shook herself like a hen resettling her ruffled feathers. Well, I suppose it couldn't be helped, she said at last. I shall attempt to forget it. May I please have my shotgun? No, ma'am, not yet. It was used in a robbery, and we need it for evidence. Miss Scrimmage was alarmed. How can you leave us defenseless? I need that shotgun to protect my girls. Lady, laughed the same young officer, limping towards his car, I pity the poor sucker who tries to break into this place. As the last of the police cars pulled out of Miss Scrimmage's driveway, Mr. Surgeon addressed his students. Classes will be delayed 1 hour in the morning. He stared down a few weak cheers, and extended 1 extra hour into the afternoon. You will all return to your beds immediately. Bruno smothered his laughter with his pillow to avoid disturbing the housemaster. I don't see what's so funny, said Boots. Tomorrow the fish is going to kill us for this. Oh, he will not, scoffed Bruno. How many times can he bawl us out for the same thing? The fish knows as well as we do that the girls took the shotgun, the same as they took the lamp. Stop worrying. You're beginning to get on my nerves. You don't have any nerves, Boots accused him. How could you stand up in front of everybody and holler, armed robbery at Miss Scrimmage? Well, somebody had to do it, Bruno laughed. Boots, where's your sense of humor? Don't you realize that we're hauling her off to the slammer? Boots smiled a little in the darkness. I'd find it funnier if I wasn't sure it was all our fault. It wasn't anybody's fault, Bruno assured him. It's just one of those things that seems to happen a lot around here. Besides, it was one of our better riots. Boots yawned. On a scale of 1 to 10, it was at least a 9, he agreed. I'm tired. Bruno grunted. We'll need a good night's sleep. We've got a lot of work to do on the talent show. There was dead silence from the other bed. Then, what talent show? Boots demanded suspiciously. But Bruno had already begun to snore. Oh, Mildred, you should have seen it, exclaimed Mr. Sturgeon as he climbed into bed for the second time that night. Children all over the place and the police dragging the Barracuda off to jail. William, I've asked you not to use that name. Poor Miss Scrimmage, what a horrible ordeal for her. We haven't heard the end of this, her husband chuckled sleepily. I should have let them take her away. William, how can you talk like that? He laughed again. It wouldn't have done me any good. Before they locked her up, they would have allowed her 1 telephone call. She probably would have called me. Ring! In the dark, Mr. Surgeon fumbled for the telephone on his night table. His elbow struck something as they lifted the receiver. Before he could speak, a recorded voice said, Hi there, my name is Jack. Hello? No, Miss Scrimmage, you do not have the wrong number. Don't mention it, Miss Scrimmage, you're quite welcome any time. Oh, yes, I quite agree. Heaven forbid. Why, Miss Scrimmage, how dare you accuse my boys of stealing your shotgun? Your young ladies, that's who. No, Miss Scrimmage, I do not wish to wager. I most certainly do not intend to punish anyone. Oh, I'm running a zoo, am I? Well, it's your school that has all the wild animals. Good night. Mr. Sturgeon hung up forcefully. Mildred, that woman is going to drive me crazy. Now, dear,